Well, Brighton were fantastic. As you know, I kept sort of flip-flopping as to who I thought would win the game. I did think it would be an issue for Spurs with no Romero, two fullbacks playing at the centre of their defence, and so it proved. And I think Roberto De Zerbi set his team up brilliantly. They didn't really have any natural wingers, so they played actually quite narrow. I thought James Milner was terrific, defying his ageing years. It was a sensational performance from him. João Pedro, what a signing he's looking for Brighton. 13 goals already this season. They broke their transfer record in the summer to get him from Watford. I think we always knew, even from watching him in the Championship, he had raw potential. And De Zerbi has really tapped into that potential. He terrorised the Tottenham defence.
I watched a lot of the first half, in fact, most of the first half. Danny Welbeck had a couple of great opportunities before they'd even taken the lead, didn't he?
Yeah, and it goes back to what Adam Lallana was saying, really, yesterday on this programme, about the blend of youth and experience, because they needed those experienced heads. Lewis Dunk at the heart of the defence, Pascal Gross, full of energy as always, Milner I've mentioned, and then the young players. Jack Hinshelwood, how well did he take his goal?
Oh, it was brilliant.
To open the scoring. Buonanotte was a real handful for the Spurs defence as well. So I think it was just about the perfect night for Brighton, barring the last 10 minutes when actually they lost their defensive discipline.
I was going to ask
conceded
you, the
a couple of goals.
Suggest that Spurs had more possession of the ball throughout the course of the game. They had more shots during the match, 19 to Brighton's 15, but just 3 on target, by the way, and they scored 2 of those. Did that, a lot of that happen after Brighton had gone 4-0 up? Because there was a stage in this game where Brighton were 4-0 up in the match. Yeah, the opening 20 minutes, actually, Tottenham did dominate possession, but they didn't really penetrate the Brighton defence. I thought Van Hecke and Lewis Dunk did a good job in keeping them at bay. So Jason Steele, until the last 10 minutes, didn't really have a meaningful save to make. So yeah, a lot of those clear-cut opportunities did come in the last 10 minutes when maybe Brighton were a little bit tired and Tottenham found a bit of extra energy. Højbjerg actually hits the post at 4-2, so it could well have been 4-3, which would have flattered the goal disallowed for offside as well, didn't they?
Twice Richarlison had the ball in the back of the net and disallowed for offside. Son wasn't at his best, so it was a very good night for Brighton and a very poor one for Tottenham. And actually, I fear for Tottenham a bit on Sunday as well, because he is going to play this high line again. Brighton exploited that. And I think Bournemouth have got players who can exploit that. If they give Semenyo and Tavernier, the 2 wide players for Bournemouth, the opportunity to run in behind and supply the balls for Dominic Solanke, I think they could be in trouble, Tottenham.
Stoicism is really important, and sticking to your principles is really important. You know, not everyone's like you, changes their mind every 2 minutes just because something didn't work one day. Ange Postecoglou believes that the only way that he can make this team a top team, not only in the Premier League but maybe in European football, is to play with this system. I think if he believes that's the case, he's got to stick with this way of playing. But does he have to be a little bit more pragmatic in circumstances? And is it naive just to think that your pure philosophy is the only way of winning a football match?
I think it is. And I put this point to Mick McCarthy on air last night, and he didn't really buy on it. He said he didn't want to criticise Postecoglou because Spurs have been brilliant this season. But if you go to a place like Brighton, their home record is very good. I think they've only lost once at home so far this season. That was to West Ham. Then you're asking for trouble if you play this high line, knowing they've got players who can exploit that. And actually, there comes a stage when you're 2-0 down, I think you have to go into damage limitation mode. You can't go from 2-0 down to 4-0 down in the blink of an eye. So, yeah, I do think he needs a plan B, Postecoglou. And actually, speaking of Jamie O'Hara, after he came off air, speaking to some Tottenham fans on their way out last night, they were frustrated with the Spurs' performance and the fact that Postecoglou was so rigid about his way of playing, because I think he set them up to get beat last night.
Dave has got in touch on the text. Dunk should have gone for a challenge the same as the one that Romero saw red for against Chelsea. Is that right?
Potentially, yeah. And actually, that was the one VAR incident that Postecoglou questioned after the game. And obviously, it didn't look great for Kulusevski. Will he be fit for the weekend? Possibly not. So I think Lewis Dunk can probably count himself a little bit fortunate.
Richie, not good enough. Son should have been in the middle last night. We might have scored where he missed. First season from Ange, need more depth. We were never in a title challenge. Anyone that's saying that is talking absolute nonsense. I think he's probably right. But we're never really going to win the title. But I think they started so well that the average number of points that a team gets over that early period of the season should finish in the top 4. Going to be difficult, as we've already articulated. Pap Sarr's going away to the AFCON. So is Basuma. Son's going to the Asian Cup. Romero and Van der Ven both injured. It's going to be a difficult period, I think. Let's speak to Kate, who's a Spurs fan. Hi, Kate.
Hi guys, you all right?
Yeah, we're great. Thank you very much. It's been a brilliant festive season of football, and there's loads more to come as well. And there's sparked a lot of debate this morning, which is always good. So we want to hear from you. What have you got to say?
First of all, Kulu's out anyway next game because he picked up another yellow card, so he's suspended. So
He did, yeah.
that's the first thing. The other thing is, first of all, I never said we was in a title race. We were never in a title race. You know, this is the beginning of a project. We've got to give Ange Postecoglou time, and at the end of the day, this time has to be dependent on Levy as well. Levy's got to back this manager. I hate this reactionary criticism that keeps coming Ange's way that, he's always going to play the high line, you know, it's naive. First of all, we tried playing defensively under Conte and Mourinho. It doesn't work. We don't have the personnel to do it, particularly now Van der Ven's out. Second of all, he doesn't stringently stick to this high line religiously. He does make tweaks to his system.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like he's stubborn and says, you know, this is how it is, I'm not changing anything. He tweaks his system. He just purely doesn't have the personnel to play it. So why should he change his system just for that? He needs to instill a philosophy into the team. You know, Man United fans this season criticising Ten Hag. He's got no philosophy. He's got no style of play. Postecoglou is bringing that in.
Yeah, he's certainly got an identity, he hasn't he?
There's a happy medium, though, isn't there? And you say he's never said that he sticks to his philosophy. Well, he did say it publicly after that Chelsea debacle. And
This is who we are.
It was noticeable last night. On a number of occasions, Brighton went long from the goal kick. Jason Steele lumped it over the top of the Tottenham defence, and more often than not, João Pedro was set away. So it was clearly an area that Brighton set out to exploit.
But I do think Kate's right. I do think that, especially in recent weeks, he has just tweaked it slightly. And maybe because of the fact that he's had the injuries to Romero and to Van der Ven, he's had to, because he relies on pace of those defenders to cover the ground. And with those fullbacks that come up and go in, it means that very often you're defending with those two centre-halves on their own if you lose the ball in opposition territory, Kate.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't saying, sorry, I didn't mean to say that he has never said that's his philosophy. I know that's what he sticks to, but what I'm saying is he's not stringent where he doesn't tweak it slightly. But you've got to remember, because of the injuries, he's playing with a lot of the players we had under Jose Mourinho and Conte, and they played defensively, and it didn't work. So do Tottenham fans want to go back watching that rubbish again? I certainly don't.
No,
I'm loving this.
No one wants to go back watching that again, mate, because we've only just woken up from it. Because it was so tough last year, wasn't it? I mean, like it was a cure for insomnia watching some of that football last year. It was the Stellini period was awful. You know, you go to Tottenham now, you have fun going to Tottenham now.
They are great to watch.
Listen, I did a video a couple of weeks ago where someone asked me about Ange Postecoglou, and I'm fully paid up. I think this is the way to do it. It might not work perfectly every single game. It might not work this season in terms of getting them to where, you know, many people thought they might get to. But long term, this is a guy who's got the plan of long-term project, short-term feels, and he's united the fan base around the group of players and around him because he knows that going forward he's going to require them, and he's laying the foundations for future success. That's what I think. They do need to invest. They've had one transfer window. They'll have another one where they bring in players, I think, in January. And I think you've already said you expect them to be busy.
I do.
And I think they'll be busy in the summer as well. Kate, another brilliant call. Thank you very much. George is a Spurs fan. He's on in just a second. But first of all, here's Mick. Hello.
Morning, lads. How are you?
Yes, we're good. Thank you, mate. What do you want to say?
Well, I certainly don't want to go back to Josie and Conte football. I'm getting value for money with the season ticket. It's good to watch. The atmosphere's improved no end. I thought last night we looked very flat, and fair play to Brighton, and everything that Lallana said in that interview yesterday, fair play to you, it came to fruition. They were hungry. They was at it the whole game. Right, they lapsed off a little bit towards the end. But the infuriating thing for me was Kulusevski, we're 1-0 down. All right, you're still in the game at 1-0. Why did he go and commit that stupid foul that, one, gives them a penalty, puts them 2-0 up, and two, when we're short on bodies, he gets himself suspended for Sunday against Bournemouth?
That was a ridiculous challenge, by the way, wasn't it? I mean, what on earth is he doing? He's never going to get away with a shirt pull like that.
No, and he isn't, and he's always going to get a yellow card for it as well. So I think it's a brilliant point. It's another player they've lost this weekend. As I've already mentioned, I think Bournemouth, with their high-intensity football, could well get some joy at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So I think Ange Postecoglou will be disappointed with that. And I think actually George is right. They were a little bit flat, Tottenham. Despite the fact they had a lot of the ball, they didn't really do enough with it. I thought Son was off his game. Richarlison didn't seem to manage to be able to stay onside. Papsar in midfield as well didn't have his best night at the office. So maybe it was just a bad night at the office.
Oi, Friday. It's Mick that you were talking to there.
Oh, I've got George up in front of me.
You're just not concentrating, are you? You're just not concentrating. Mick, have a good weekend, fella. Thank you very much for giving us a call. We'll get George on now. Hi, George, you all right?
Hi, guys. How's it going? You okay?
Yeah, you have to be a bit slow with him. It's Friday. Can't deal with Fridays. What do you want to say about Spurs?
Just a quick one. I think everyone's forgetting we're only 6 points off the top with our main spine missing.
Yeah. Going to be missing for a while as well, by the way.
I know. I think January will be painful, but I think if we can have most of them back for the rest of the season, we'll put a good march on. And also, I'd like to hear Gary Neville going, ooh, for Dunk's red card yesterday, because if that's Ramiro, he's getting life in Alcatraz.
It's a good point. It's a good point.
Listen, I think it's one of those. VAR probably should have looked at it. Did they look at it?
Yeah, there was a VAR check.
And they just didn't think it was a clear and obvious error by the referee or met the threshold.
Yeah.
Interesting.
On AM, on DAB, via the TalkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. TalkSPORT.